Good evening, everyone. Hello, I'm Martin Gosson. I'm the SWE branch co-chair, one of the co-chairs. Welcome to this evening's webinar. We're very pleased to welcome back Peter Taylor, the Lazy Project Manager of fame, to talk about artificial intelligence and his view on where we might be going with it, what the impact is or may be on the profession, and what it actually means for you personally as a project professional. So it'll be a very interesting sort of discussion and presentation this evening. Please let us know what you think of the event as well, please, afterwards. You'll get an evaluation sheet survey to fill in. It's really important that we get that feedback as a committee of volunteers to understand what you want from us to provide you to meet your personal professional development needs going forward in the future. So please do sort of take the time and trouble to give us that feedback, please, for the survey. Just to remind you, this session is being recorded, so you will be able to watch it afterwards. And for those who haven't been able to dial in, we will be able to sort of catch up with that later on. You're all in listen-only mode as well, so please save your questions up, put them in the chat function, and then Eddie Rakewell, my colleague, will be able to sort of deal with those at the Q&A session after Peter's main presentation on that. Peter's designed this presentation to be sort of interactive, so Mentimeter is rules the day. So Eddie, I think, has put the the code, Mentimeter code, into the chat function, and Peter will be just sort of showing the code as part of his presentation as well. So please be prepared to get stuck in and join in and take part in Peter's questions. Bit of APM information. As a branch, we're planning to do a sort of mix of face-to-face and virtual events going forward. Each of them has pros and cons, and I think with a virtual event like this, particularly with a speaker of Peter's renown, makes an awful lot of sense to get as wide an audience as we possibly can do, far wider than we possibly get at a normal branch event. So, Peter, we're very, very grateful for you for offering to do this tonight. Also, have a look at the APM website. There's an awful lot of resources on there for e-learning, guides and everything else, including sort of applying for CHPP, a Chartered Project Professional. So do sort of go through there and use the information, the facilities that you have available to you as members. We've got quite a few events coming up now, which is good. We have a Agile question time with Barbara Roberts, really good speaker, really, I think, it's one of the best speakers I've ever seen on Agile in general. And this is a different event. It'll be open to you to put your questions into her to start with. Then she will deal with it. So it won't be a normal presentation. She'll just be dealing with questions which the audience actually want to put to her on the night, and hopefully before the night as well. So that'll be good. That's good. That's coming up on the 5th of July. That's her webinar. 14th of July, we're going to be looking at introducing ethical hacking to the MOD. Sounds very, very sort of cloak and dagger and all that sort of stuff, but I can assure you it's all legit. That's a webinar again. Then moving on to September, because we usually have sort of August off. The who, the how of high performance teamwork, and Nick Viewings is sort of coming down to Bristol for a face-to-face event. So we welcome back Nick. He's been to some of our events before. 13th of September is our first one-day seminar for quite a long time because of COVID. So we're going to look at how you kick a project off on the right track. So those of you know, at North Bristol, we'll be using Bauer, and it's a very, very reasonable £45 for the whole day event, which includes all your refreshments and lunch and everything else. Really got a lineup of speakers. The event's just been launched, so please look at the APM events website and get the details on that and sign up for that. It'll be as COVID secure as it possibly can do. So Bauer's making sure that everything is in place as it needs to be. So don't feel shy about coming along for the day. 29th September, we then have one of our very popular virtual networking events, and Nina Hartley will be leading discussion around stakeholder engagement in this hybrid world that we've been sort of thrust into the last couple of years. So that's usually a very good discussion topic. Then we have our one-day conference on the 11th of October. That's going to be held at the SS Great Britain. A really good venue, a really good lineup of speakers. And our local corporates have been working on putting this sort of conference together with the committee to bring that to you. So that'll be well worth looking out for as well. So do get engaged with that. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Peter Taylor. And welcome back, Peter. It's really good to see you again, even though it's just virtually. But Peter's an excellent speaker. He's been very kind enough to sort of do several presentations over the years down to the South Wales West Virginia branch. But of course, this is far wider than that. It's we hopefully will have a somewhat global audience as well across the whole country. So Peter's going to be looking at AI, artificial intelligence, and what that means for you as a project professional, and sort of what the implications are for your careers going forward. So without further ado, Peter, thank you very much indeed.
All right, thank you very much, Martin. Okay, so hopefully you should be able to see my slides now. I'm going to take that as a yes. Okay, so AI, project management, terminate, scary terms, interesting topic, quite a challenge, I feel. So what I want to take you is kind of a journey, and let me explain just why I think this is such an important topic. Because I 2 years ago, I wasn't really thinking about it at all. And then I started picking up a few pointers around what AI could do in general. And I did that as partly as I'm an expert advisor for a tech startup company, which is in the world of project team analytics and dynamics. And suddenly I started seeing the potential of what artificial intelligence can do. And so on that basis, I was a bit panicky at the time because I just wasn't seeing many conversations, hardly any at all, actually, being spoken about in the world of project management. And so that's why I invested some time, did some reading, did some research, if you like, quite light research, admittedly, not some deep space, sort of university level research, but I started reading and investigating, and I got increasingly excited about artificial intelligence on one hand, but I also got quite concerned about the fact that we as a profession weren't talking about it enough, and that's really why I came up with this whole topic around artificial intelligence, project management, and the impact. Obviously, the terminate is a joke. So let's just talk about that. All right. So will AI terminate project management? So we've had the introduction. So thank you, Martin, for that one. Some of you may know me. I've been around for a while. Lazy Project Manager was the first significant book that I produced. Well, it's the first book I produced, and it is still an incredibly popular book. I've written many other topics around PMO leadership because that is what I do. I'm currently a global head of a PMO for a major billion-dollar human capital management software company. In parallel to that, I do a lot of speaking. As you can see there, I've done over 450 lectures around the world. In fact, I think this is number 484 since I started. And you can find all my information there in the lazyprojectmanager.com. But I was fortunate enough to start exploring AI and project management, and I was fortunate enough to be able to produce a book about it. And I think it was really important to confirm that I am a certified human. This is not that's why I had the camera on to start with. You saw it really was me presenting, me talking. This is not AI presenting something to you. So as I said, I'm a keynote speaker. I'm a head of a PMO. I am an executive advisor to a company called Perflow, which is, as I said, that tech startup company. And it just began to excite me about artificial intelligence. Now, here's some headline stuff to start with. If you're talking about, some of the major names out there and the idea of artificial intelligence, the first thing, look at, you have Gartner. Gartner is saying that by 2020, AI will generate 2.3 million jobs. Now, that's the plus side. There's always a downside, and Gartner admits that will mean it will be replaced, or 1.8 million jobs will be removed. But that's a net increase of jobs, and Gartner suggesting that AI, as a standalone technology, will generate $2.9 trillion in business value by 2031. So massive thought there. Google's CEO said that AI is one of the most important things humanity is working on. There's a big bold statement if there ever was one. And Forbes stated that AI, with its unique ability to monitor patterns, is capable of kind of assisting in the area of projects and project management. And this will provide massive or significant savings of time. This ability to track, to monitor, to predict, to be on 24/7 is huge. And then I came across this one, which is the Gartner report, where this just struck me that by 2030, so it's 2022, we know that, we're halfway through 2022. By 2030, 80% of the work of today's project management discipline will be eliminated as AI takes on functions such as data collection, tracking, and reporting. 80% of what you do as a project manager could disappear in a very few years' time. And that kind of took me aback. Now, whether you believe that actual number, whether that really is going to be precise, but I think what it's saying is there is a significant impact coming towards this profession of ours, and it's coming fast, and it won't be stopped. I don't believe it is happening. And so all of that, as I said, it kind of powered this kind of, well, I need to learn about it. We need to be talking about this. We need to be sharing some ideas. We need to get ready. We need to prepare. And that really is, as I said, it was a trigger point for me. Now, I am going to, as I said, I'm going to be using Menti because I do like to interact with my audience. I can't see you all. So there's the Menti instructions. You can use the QR code, or you can just go to menti.com, enter in that code 67158192. I can see someone's arrived already. And yep, here they come. That's fantastic. If you could do that, because I do want to learn how. I want to hear how you feel about this. And I can see there's 59 attendees at the moment. I'd love most of those, if not all of those, to join me on Menti. So I'm going to let that run a little bit. We're going to start with kind of a warm-up question, really. Just tell me your name. Just your first name. That's a good start. We just get practicing. If you haven't used Menti, and I think more and more people obviously have used Menti. I love it. Other tools are available. I know that. But I love it because it's such a nice, simple visual tool. You get a record at the end of presentations, webinars, workshops, etc. It's colourful, it's interactive. You can do a lot of fun. I run quizzes with it, I run polls with it, etc. And it'll be polls that we're running today. I just want to hear your thoughts, etc. So yeah, great names: Ashops, Matt, Sam, Luca, Gordon, Michelle, Tom, Damien. I'm trying to spin it around. Richard. Daria, Julian, Alex, Joanna, Serena, thank you for joining. Good number. All right. So that's your name. Fantastic. You can keep joining as we go along. I'd love to know, again, thinking about an audience, what is your role here? What is it you do? Are you a project manager? Are you a head of a PMO? Great job. Are you a PMO team member? Are you a program manager? Are you a consultant, trainer, sponsor? Are you something else? What are you? So here we go. A lot of project managers doesn't really surprise me, of course. There's a few program managers, PMO team members, portfolio manager, a few consultants, a few other roles, of course. Yep, trainer, sponsor. Okay. No heads of PMO. I'm the only one. So, all right, thank you. Again, it's great because it helps me understand the audience. It helps me understand the kind of breadth of people that I'm engaging with. So thank you to all of you who've joined. So I said, you can keep joining. You can join in at any point of time with this. So let's get on to the kind of detailed question, if you like now. I mean, this is quite a corny image, isn't it? It's quite but that's why I joke about, will AI terminate project management? I got told off recently for using that term. It was deemed to be slightly threatening, but you saw the Gartner report which said it's going to eliminate a whole chunk of what we do. And so my question is this what you think when you hear AI, artificial intelligence, in the world of project management? Is it the fact that, something's, this kind of, the Terminator is going to come along and wipe us out completely? Well, obviously not. But, what is your view at this point in time? And I don't know if you are, I know you're heavily involved in AI, you'll begin to explore it. Are you excited about it? Are you cautious? Are you neutral? Are you concerned? Are you worried? Are you bored already? Oh, look, there's lots of people coming in who are excited about it. That's good. I like that. I like the fact you're excited. One person's bored about it, but already. Okay, so, I did question why you came on an AI and project management presentation. Then, if you're bored about AI already, but I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're here, and hopefully, I might change your mind. So, how do you feel about AI and project management? Well, most of you are saying that you are excited. Yes, 15 excited. 5 of you are cautious. 9 are neutral. Nothing wrong with that. It's early stages. You might be just beginning to explore it. 2 of you are concerned about it, concerned from a personal point of view. None of you are specifically worried, or maybe your concern is concerned about how it's going to impact you and what's going to happen as you move forward. And 1 person is currently bored. We need to change that. All right, thank you. So, look. AI is complicated, all right? It's just not a simple topic. I mean, yeah, it's a wonderful acronym, AI. I mean, apart from being just A, it couldn't get simpler, really. But actually, artificial intelligence, and I didn't realize until I started reading about it. And in the book I did write, the whole sort of first chapter is all about the history of AI and the components of AI, and we're talking about wide artificial intelligence, narrow artificial intelligence. We'll explore some of this. But my point about it, it's complicated. Let me give you an example. Let me give you 2 examples of why it's complicated. So, on the left-hand side, the Patent Office in the UK, we all know this. It's if you've created something, you want to protect something, whether it be a design, an invention, or you want to actually trademark your business or something like that. If you want to protect your in my case, copyright is applicable to the books that I write. All of this goes through the Patent Office. The Patent Office in the UK I think is the oldest in the world, and it goes way back in time. I think the very first patent ever registered was something to do with stained glass design, or a mechanism for producing stained glass. But the Patent Office, within recent years, has experienced something where there were 2 submissions to the Patent Office for inventions, and the submission stated the inventions were created by artificial intelligence. And it's known as the Davis, and the Davis hearing that followed on. Davis was the artificial intelligence technology, and the argument was that this AI had produced 2 things, 2 inventions, 2 creations, 2 things that were totally new. And they were submitted to the Patent Office. The Patent Office went through due diligence, as usual, and the result of that was, or the conclusion of that was, that these were rejected. The rejection was not in what had been invented, if you like. The rejection was, no, at this point in time, we do not believe that AI can have, independently of humans, invented something. And therefore it was rejected. And the Davis hearing went on to explore this, because the Patent Office, whilst rejecting this and saying, no, it's AI can't do this, what came out of that was also the fact that the Patent Office is undergoing a fairly significant review on accepting or planning for the reality of when AI will be inventing things, independent. So, on one hand, not ready yet. It's not saying right now is not the time where an AI can submit. AI itself cannot submit something to the Patent Office, but that actually the Patent Office needs to get ready, and I'm sure that is true of all similar patent offices around the world and many other organisations. We getting ready, because this is coming towards us now. On the picture on the right-hand side, the rather interesting picture on the right-hand side, this is, I think it's a lovely one. There's a TED talk. We all love a good TED talk. There's a TED talk by a lady called Janelle Shane. Janelle Shane has written a lot about AI and the impact of AI and the power of AI, but references a particular AI technology that was analysing imagery. This is what this one was focused on, because, again, it's a bit like robotics. Lots of things are going on in lots and lots of little disparate areas, and they will slowly come together. In robotics, for example, there was a lot of work done on kind of hand-arm movement. Eye coordination was another one. Then there was the whole kind of balance and the ability to move around, human-like. And we've seen it all come together in some of the amazing Boston imageries of the videos of robots that have been produced. AI is a bit like that. there are component investigations and investments going all over the place. Well, this particular one was around data imagery, and one of the conclusions this AI came to was the fact that fish have hands. And if you think about it, that's not that surprising, really, because over half the pictures of fish that you will see will be fish in the hands of fishermen who've just caught them and holding them proudly. This is the one that didn't get away. The other images are of perhaps in fishmongers, etc. So you can think about it, there's a lot of images out there that combine hands, fingers, and fish, and therefore the result of this AI was it came up with obviously the wrong conclusion, but sort of not stupid conclusion that fish have fingers. Not the case. So here we have kind of the contrast to where we are. Patent office getting ready for AI inventions outright. On the other hand, AI not quite there yet, and producing this kind of confused outcome about fish having fingers. I'd like you to meet Robbie. Robbie is my automated robo-bag, and I love Robbie. Robbie's actually down here right next to me by my desk, fast asleep at the moment, doesn't wake up until 5 o'clock in the morning. But what happens at 5 in the morning is that Robbie will wake up, he will leave his charging station, he will go around the ground floor of the house. At the moment he can't go upstairs. He's a bit like the old Daleks, but not the new Dalek, who can levitate. Robbie just heads off, and every morning he does a complete sweep of the ground floor of the house, and it's great. It's really good. I'm very impressed with it. All I have to do is, every couple of days I have to empty Robbie, and that's it. And Robbie tells me when he's emptying, etc. Well, this is brilliant, but it wasn't so good when we first got Robbie. There was a lesson we had to go through. On the left-hand side there, you can see that in one of the early days, Robbie attempted to eat his own power cord, which was very entertaining when I came down in the morning. My phone gets alerts and bleeps and messages from Robbie when things are happening. And, I woke up to this, Robbie's in trouble and an error code. And this was the case. Robbie had moved the base station somehow. He had become disconnected, and he started trying to hoover up or sweep up the power cord. So that only happened once. It's never happened since, actually. And then on the right hand side, you might say this is perhaps a learning experience for both Robbie and also my wife. My wife is a knitter, and this particular night left her knitting on the floor in the lounge when we went to bed, and then Robbie attempted to consume as much of that knitting as possible before filling up basically with wool. And again, this has only happened once. My wife has learned to put the knitting away and out of Robbie's reach, and Robbie has presumably learned that it's not such a good thing at all. This is kind of, this is not advanced AI, but it's kind of clever. It is learning. It learns the landscape downstairs. It maps it. It understands it. It uses all of its sensors, etc. And it moves around in a series of kind of, do I want a deep clean? Do I want one particular room? Do I want an edge clean? Or do I want to do just a light clean across the whole ground floor? All of these things are possible and programmable, and Robbie does his very best. So again, we're kind of moving on into our own world where this is kind of impressive stuff. But I think what I was trying to say here is that AI is complicated. It's not so simple in being able to explain what it is or what it can do. But that also means it's very far-reaching. So if you think about this, I like this picture. It's from PwC report of 2018, but I do like the imagery, and I do like the kind of way it's broken down, because whatever you read, you will find different definitions. But I like these ones, and these are, the 4 steps of AI, or the 4 stages or 4 phases of AI, if you like. And it starts off with integration and automation. And integration automation is just, the embedding of processes that we can automatically run, that kind of help you perhaps, kind of plan and schedule and stuff like that. Then the second stage is around the kind of chatbots. And we're probably more aware of these. I mean, if you've ever, had a problem with Amazon or, want to resolve some issue with some other advanced or modern supplier, chances are you're going to start the process by talking to a chatbot rather than a real human. And you may be, depending on your need or your challenge, you will move over to a human at an appropriate time. But the chatbots are increasingly there to help and guide you. They're kind of effectively They are your project assistant. They can actually help with scheduling meetings, etc. And this is another interesting area which has seen a lot of evolution and right in recent times, and is becoming more prevalent out there. But the biggie is around the machine learning based project management, and this is the real clever stuff. And I mentioned Perflow as one example, and what's happening there is that based on your team engagement and dynamics and communication, the language you use, the way you communicate, the sort of reports you produce, the minutes that are taken, the kind of Teams chat or the kind of Slack chat, anything like that, allows the AI technology to spin this around and start to analyze it and look at your mood, look at your sentiment, look at your engagement levels, look at your kind of idea creation, and give some very incredible, very powerful feedback to team leaders, managers, project managers, whatever it may be. Another one that I was recently looking at is all around the ability of using machine learning to record or invite the machine learning AI to your meeting, and this is actually Assembly AI, and what it does is it processes all of that chat that we have during meetings, whether it be a project meeting or just a team meeting, and to automatically produce the minutes and the high points, and we transcribe it. We know there are many tools out there that can transcribe, for example, but this is taking it to the next level of going, well, you don't want to read all the words from that meeting, but nor do you want to go and spend a whole amount of time writing up minutes. So here, bang, 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 here is the AI produced output. So that's machine learning. And then the last one is the autonomous project manager. This is where we aren't needed anymore. Okay, you can debate about that. My view on it, and maybe it's me, maybe it's my age, I don't know, but my view is that there will be autonomous project management eventually, but only for low-end, simplistic, low-risk type projects that are almost semi-repeatable. That kind of low-end stuff. I can see autonomous project management existing there, but I think for just taking over something big, large, hairy, scary, and significant to an organisation is, well, it's quite some way off. I'd imagine it's not going to exist in my working lifetime. Let's put it that way. But right now, we don't have autonomous project management, but we do have the other three in various forms, and increasingly so. So I'd love to know, back to you guys, who's using anything that they believe is AI powered in some way in project management? I'm asking here, okay? How in the world of project management, are you using it? Yes, no, you're not sure. I don't know is an actually totally valid response, because it is quite possible that we use a lot of things that have AI in it that we are unclear on or don't realise. Okay, I'm going to let a few more votes come in. Thank you. So most of you are saying no, that doesn't surprise me. That's the where we are at the moment. A whole chunk of you are saying you don't know. That doesn't surprise me either. And 8 of you at the moment are saying yes, you are using some form of AI technology. So brilliant, thank you. If you are using AI, do you know where do you think it is? Is it in integration automation? Is it in chatbots? Is it in machine learning? Is it autonomous project management? That's kind of a trick question. You can't. If you vote for that, you're not being serious, because it doesn't exist. Well, someone always says that though. But there we go. Integration automation, there we go. Autonomous project manager. There's always one out there. There's always a joker or someone who knows something top secret that we don't know, in which case we should all be very much afraid. Machine learning, autonomous, thank you, chat box. All right, a few coming in. Let's wait for a few more. I know about 30 or so of you are active on this, but not all of you are using AI, so I think we're probably there. Okay, great. So, a couple of autonomous project managers, well done. Contact me afterwards and bring me into that one, because I think that's a billion-dollar idea. Machine learning, a couple of you. Chatbots, quite a lot. Integration automation, quite a lot. Fantastic. What about this one? Back to everybody now. If you think about it, about project management, and you can all vote, you can select up to 3 of these. Whereabouts would you think or envisage that AI is going to be most useful? Are we talking about in, critical success factors, deliverables, work breakdowns, scheduling, budgeting, resource planning, communication, risk, procurement, team building, benefits realization, stakeholder, something else? What are your thoughts right now? I like this one because this is going to be very dynamic. This one is going to move a lot. And again, one of the things I'll do, and I'll get this to Martin, Ellie, tomorrow once we close off the webinar and I get the results. But Menti is really good at the fact that it gives you all this visual output at the end. So I'm happy to share with that, and obviously the slides as well. All right, let's just leave it a little. Well, it looks like scheduling is certainly in the lead. It's followed by budgeting, yep, okay, and work breakdown structure. Resource planning is quite high. Risk issue management is quite high. Okay, quite low on team building. I'd argue against that personally, but that's just that's my bias. Benefits realization, yeah, I know this is an interesting one about what you can do in there. Stakeholder management, again, I think my view is that AI will, across the board, contribute in some way, but I get it. I think most of the expected early deliverables are going to be exactly where you put them. It's although I'd say I think communication is going to be much higher. I said already AI I'm seeing, in fact, I'm trialing in my own world of PMO and project managers, we're trialing the kind of technology, AI technology that will, simplify communication or meeting output, if you like, to save our project managers time. Okay, brilliant. Thank you again. So where do we go from here? Well, I think we go from for and against. This is where I'm going to pitch it at the moment. You could possibly be the judges here. So project management doesn't need AI. It was an interesting one, and I'm putting this in here because I hosted a debate a while recently, and project management doesn't need AI. And there were a number of major arguments, and I then came across this mug, and I just love this mug. I mean, it's quite rude, but artificial intelligence is no match for natural stupidity. But the point about it, the main argument was that from people was, look, we don't need AI because we're successful already. Okay. The second one was we don't need AI because it's not going to help us because our data generally is not that good, and AI demands good quality, robust data to work off. Otherwise, it's making the judgments based purely on data that is incorrect. And actually, three, it's the humanity, it's the human input that takes the imperfect world that we operate in, the imperfect world of imperfect systems, imperfect data, imperfect people, and overlays that with what we know as people that deals with this. So this is the essence of the kind of negativity around we don't need AI. Project management's doing okay, and actually, we do okay despite everything out there. In fact, and artificial intelligence can't work in the world of despite the data not being very good, despite the fact the systems are not solid and robust or up to date, despite the fact that humans keep interfering with all of that. AI can't handle that very well. So that was the kind of negative side of things. The counter argument, project management does need AI, was an interesting, and I'm going to give you just one example here. The concept of the hive mind. This is the connective, collaborative process of bringing individuals together. Now, I don't know about your projects, what they're like. I don't know about the size of your teams. I don't know where they are, but I know in my world, projects are getting more and more complicated. They're getting more complex. They are involving more and more individuals around the world in their project teams. And so one of the great things for any project manager is to be able to connect to their teams, get insight, get advice, get experience, get that subject matter expertise, help make decisions. And the hive mind is the concept around making that kind of connectivity. So one way to be successful is to harvest the power of the hive mind. So by harnessing the collective power, the kind of thoughts, experience, the knowledge and the wisdom of many rather than just a few, then better decisions can be made. That's the whole point. By utilizing a collaborative work management solution type approach, for more inclusive decision making, just offers up a faster than the traditional meet, discuss, agree, act, physical meetings, series of meetings before you come to some kind of conclusion. And an example, there's lots of examples out there, but the one I particularly like is the researchers at Unanimous AI and Oxford University put together a human swarm, which is a large group of people, and they used it to predict the outcome of all English Premier League games. And they did it in two stages. In the first stage, they took sports fans, they took football fans. These are people who know the major teams in the Premier League, know their performance, know their history, know how they're doing, know where they are in the league table, all of that. They know which players are coming in and which players are going, how happy the manager is, all of that. And what they did, over a 10-week period, they got the predictive results of the Premier League. And, as I do, whether you're a fan of football or not, if someone's at the top of the league playing someone at the bottom of the league, the outcome is not guaranteed, but it's quite likely. Anyway, they got these people to individually predict the outcome of these Premier League football matches over a number of weekends. And at the end of it, the individuals achieved an accuracy of 55%. So 55%. Now, if you think about that, that's really not that much better than tossing a coin, is it? Flipping a coin. It's over 50-50, admittedly, but it's not significantly over. But what they did then was they then connected those individuals together and they produced a collective prediction using the AI platform. And what happened, and then they ran it for another 10 weekends and all the matches. And at the end of that period of time, they produced an accuracy of 72%, which is quite a significant rise. So for an individual's 55% accuracy to 72% as a collective. And in fact, they ran it again after that, and they continue to see improvements in the outcome. So I'd say the power it does seem to be with the many, I would say, in this case. And this is one of the examples of the power of AI, and I think that power of AI in general, but I think the power of AI definitely in the world of project management. But I think AI asks some really, really big questions of us, and I don't have all the answers to this, but if you think about it, in the AI project management world, will this mean that anyone can do project management? Right? So if you've got this brilliant AI assistant that's predicting, never sleeps, never gets emotional, driven by data, constantly looking at forwards, backwards, sideways, everywhere, giving you advice, giving you guidance, etc. If that's the case, does that mean in any way you can do project management in the future? It's not written in question. It does depend how far you think this will go, and I'll give you my conclusions after this. The second thing is, and this might be worrying to the organisations such as ABM, but do we care about certifications now? Does it matter? Because AI is better than any certification, because AI is going to deliver the significant amount of the results for us. Does it also mean that methodology is going to become history? Because does it mean the fact that how we do projects, the bodies of knowledge that exist out there, will they just exist in some single global cloud of artificial intelligence wisdom or something like that? Where will this go? And will we all become devalued as a result of that? I think there are some fascinating big questions, and these are stuff that you can debate on. But I think it comes back to this for me. I think is in the midst of all this evolution, it's important to remember that there is actually something AI can't do, and that's be human. And this was Mark Lamont from a report on AI for PwC, and I think that is incredibly true. That we are in the midst of an evolution, a massive evolution, one that's not going to take decades. It's going to just take a few years, and it's coming out as fast. But actually, AI can do many things now, and it can do many things in the future. And in fact, in the book that I wrote, there are some at the end of it, there's just some fascinating things that exist right now that you can go and play with AI on many platforms, on Google, on Microsoft, and stuff like that. And they're just kind of fun, and they're also quite jaw dropping in some cases. But it can't be human. So if I kind of begin to summarize here, I'm convinced AI is here to stay. That's my position on this one. I don't think it's going away. If anything, it's just going to become more and more dominant over the coming years. And really, that for me is the big thing here. I'm delighted to be able to talk to you today about this. But we need to keep the conversations going. We need to keep learning. We need to keep discussing this. We need to get ready for this, because AI will change the project management role significantly. And that's fine. That really is fine. I just don't have a problem with that, because if I'm honest, the stuff that I see AI coming along and doing is the stuff that I didn't find the most exciting in project management. It's the stuff I had to do. I had to produce the reports. I had to look at all the kind of resource balancing all the time. I had to look at the kind of scheduling. I had to kind of maintain the plan all the time. And, all of that, it's all important, but it wasn't the most exciting part of project management, I don't believe. So AI will change the role significantly, I feel. And as I suggested when we talked about autonomous project managers, and both of you out there will know that at a certain level, AI will just run projects. I know that's going to be the case, but I still think there's going to be an awful lot of that, significant project activity that requires AI. It's no different from when I was talking, and I've been talking for years actually, around, if you look at a business, then they can probably break it down to 3 strata. The first strata, of course, is business as usual. What does your organization do? What is its purpose? What is its output? What is it measured on? Whether that be profit or otherwise. That is business as usual. And then there are projects. There are major changes of significant transformation inside and outside the organization that you elected to do, or some of them are thrust upon you for their regulatory, for example. They require a project manager today, and I think they're going to require a project manager into the future. There's a whole chunk in the middle, which I refer to as projects as usual, and this is the fact that managers, middle-level people, are team leaders. They're all running small projects or small amounts of change, low-risk change for the most part, but they're doing it as part of their day job. So you can see you've got business as usual, you've got projects as usual, and then you've got projects as projects. And I think AI will take over some of that. I think it will take over a lot of the, if you like, the projects as usual. So don't fight it. Embrace it is my suggestion. I think, if you're a fan of the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy and the Vogons, etc., resistance is useless. I think as far as this is concerned, it's just coming at us. And it will aid us, I believe. AI will aid project managers in many ways, as we explored very lightly, I know, in this presentation. Process automation, integration automation, chatbots, the machine learning, and eventually into that autonomous project management world. But, and here's the kind of counter argument, projects are, and have always been, about people. And AI can't be human. So the best advice I can give all of you is just aim to be an amazing human project manager in the AI-empowered project world. I think it's going to be good. I believe, if I reflect on my career in project management, when I first started, I had no idea what I was doing, I'll be honest. And, I was just given a project, and it was quite a few years before I was called a project manager, and it was a few more years after that before I was sent on a project management training course to learn how to be a project manager. And it was fantastic when I did, and I learned a lot. But, if I think about how I even survived in the early days, it's because the only thing I had available to me was the way I could interact with people. And so I used my people skills, as immature as they were at that point, but I used them and I was moderately successful. When I learned about the mechanics of project management, that really, really helped, absolutely. But I think what we're seeing now with AI is that AI will begin to take over a lot of those mechanics of project management. And what will that do? That will allow project managers to spend more time dealing with the people, working with the people, encouraging the people, leading the people, inspiring the people, all of those things. And for me, that says this has got to be a good thing. If we're allowed to get back to people, and projects are about and always have been about people, then that's got to be a very good thing. Because at the end of a successful project, you have never heard the sponsor or the project manager thanking the project tools. You've never heard them thank the methodology. You've never heard them thank the reporting process or the escalation part. No, they thank the people. And guess what? They will never, ever thank the AI. They will continue to thank the people. But I think in the future, they will be thankful of the artificial intelligence that's helped them get to the point of success. So you voted earlier on about how you felt about AI and project management. So how do you feel now? Do you feel more positive? Do you feel less positive? Do you feel the same? I think, if you feel the same, that's fine. I haven't broken anything. If you feel more positive, that's fine as well. If I've made you less positive, then I'm concerned, and I'm happy to see. I think we're going to move on to a Q&A very shortly. I'm happy to talk about that if there's something you are specifically concerned about or more worried about. But yeah, most of you have remained, and this is a short presentation, a short discussion around AI and project management. That doesn't really surprise me. I'm pleased with the 9 people that feel more positive about it. If I've helped explain a little bit more. And look, I'm a project manager. I am not an AI scientist or specialist. I've looked at AI, I've looked at the trends, I've looked, if you like, at the veneer of what is coming, and it excites me. But I'm not a deep space, deep science type AI specialist or anything like that. But I've tried to share at least some of my thoughts around this. So thank you for those that do feel more positive as a result. I think I'm going to wrap up now, and so Martin, that means you need to be ready, and Eddie, you need to be ready for the questions that are coming through. But when I don't know if you're a fan or not, but there is the Strictly Come Dancing, there's a Dancing with the Stars, and I came up with I saw the term digital dance, and I liked it. I think it applies to our world, this kind of join the digital dance, because I see it as a partnership, and when I see the pattern of the future to be is very much like those sort of dancing competitions where you've got a professional dancer paired with an amateur celebrity, and it's all very awkward in the early stages for the most part, but eventually a partnership evolves, eventually trust happens, eventually the balance of that kind of relationship is found, and somewhere between reasonable to brilliant dances are a result of that. No, not everybody gets to the very highest level, but every season there are some quite spectacular ones. And I think joining the digital dance is the kind of thing that we need to do at this point, because it is a matter of finding, as project managers, how do we work with the AI that is available now and the AI that'll be available in a year's time and so forth, and how do we find the right way to dance with that AI to allow us to deliver ever-increasing project success in an ever-increasing complex landscape of projects and change. The book I've been referring to, is AI and the Project Manager, How the Rise of Artificial Intelligence Will Change Your World. There's a discount code there. You can get it from Routledge, or you can actually get it from Amazon or the other places as well. So that's if you want that. And now, yes, that brings us to the end. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing now, and I'm going to bring my camera up. There we go. Let's bring the camera on, and I'm going to bring it up. So, yeah, thank you very much for your time and your attention. So, are there any questions out there yet?
Hi, Peter. Thank you so much for sharing all that knowledge. Yes, we've had lots of questions come in, so if we don't manage to get through them all, what we'll do is we'll pass them over to you and you can reply to them, and we'll pop them up on the APM website, so just in case anybody doesn't get their question answered. But to start us off, we have one that says, on the news, a Google engineer said that that the AI he was working with became sentient. He was fired. The engineer was an expert in evaluating such matters. Do you feel like this may be a problem for humanity?
Well, on the grounds I presented, fish have fingers. Not right now. I don't know if it can become sentient. That's a very complex idea. Oh yes, I'm sharing my webcam. Sorry, I thought I turned it on. There we go. I don't know. I mean, this goes back to the whole kind of Terminator thing, the scary stuff. Is this going to come about? I don't know. I think we will find ways of dealing with it. I think going back to kind of the iRobot rules and all the rest of it, we'll find a way of making sure this doesn't happen in a negative way. I believe. So I'm feeling reasonably comfortable, but I'm fairly old, so maybe I'm only feeling comfortable for my lifetime.
Thank you. And do you think AI will be a better fit with PMO to understand lessons learned, resourcing, financial costs, etc., to help assist with demand management and benefits realization?
Yeah, I think it will do all. Benefits realization is the kind of outcome of all of those sort of things. I think, and my own PMO, we're beginning to look at a number of AI-powered technologies to see how we're evaluating them to see how they can possibly help us. But I do think it will bring benefit, absolutely, and it allow us to analyze the data faster, engage in more projects, take a view, support the project manager, all of those sort of things that will give us the insight that we need to help ensure that we do deliver the business benefits. So yes, I think it will cover many aspects of that. And so if I think of my own world, in my world, in Ceridian, we have 150 project managers. Somewhere up to about 2,000 projects ongoing at any given time. That's a lot of information, a lot of data, a lot of activity, a lot of flow, a lot of possibilities where things could go wrong or all right. Obviously, I think the AI would definitely help us get to that, get to more information, get to more insights quicker.
Thank you. And how do we harness or work with AI rather than just be overwhelmed by it?
Well, I think the first thing is what I'm trying to do here, which is become aware of it, get to understand it. Why should we get overwhelmed by anything? Think of the way that we have just adapted to technology in recent years, which is naturally take to it. New stuff comes out all the time. And we're not scared by it. We're not hiding from it. We just quickly adapt to it. Certainly, the younger generation probably more than my generation. So I think it's a matter of being aware, being understanding, not being surprised by it, but just openly welcoming it into our world. But as I said, not just blindly doing that. My own organisation is closely and carefully reviewing what AI is available at the moment and whether it will or won't help us at this point in time, whilst having an eye on what's coming in the future. I think that's it. Just being aware, being ready, having with an open mind.
And how do project professionals develop their skills at the start of their careers if AI will take over the smaller, less complex projects?
I mean, that's a very fair point. If that is happens, how do you enter? Well, I mean, I think you can still enter in the fact that you can become a human assistant on a large program of activity, and you can dip your toe in the water that way. You can work for a PMO in a kind of nurturing environment, a safe environment. Not every company is going to go straight to having AI, autonomous AI project management, even at the lower level. So I still think there's a lot of opportunity for people to get in and gain that experience. And it's one of the things. It's one of my jobs, if you like. People like me. Is to continue to find a path into the world of project management for people who want that kind of safe entry and offer up that kind of nurturing support and low risk engagement in learning project management for the future. But I think the other half of that is what they learn as project managers is going to be slightly different. I posed a big question about methodology and certification and all of that. I think project managers will come into the business in the future and they will learn project management on the assumption that they're going to run projects in partnership with AI, and so their learning will be slightly different.
Thank you. Are there any good examples of an AI platform working in practice?
There are. I would say at this point in time, I mean, I know all the big players are working on it. I think there are a couple of examples in the book that I refer to of organisations that are truly are beginning to kind of explore it. I mean, I wrote the book, and one of the articles is from a company called Shark Tower, based up in Scotland. They're using AI. I think Perflow is using AI. Assembly AI was another one. I think there's an awful lot of the big companies are investing and are not pushing it too much at this point in time, and there are a huge number of niche players out there as well who are probably more advanced, and we know what happens in a market like that is the niche players will converge or they will be acquired by the big players, and then within that period of time up until about 2030 it all will consolidate, and yes, all of the card names that we know, and probably some new ones as well, will be AI powered. But at the moment it's a bit of a mix out there, I think, of people who are talking about it and proudly talking about it, and the other ones are just quietly getting on with it, ready for a launch. But I think you can go find a lot of niche players.
Thank you. Project management is a process, and it's not always 2 + 2 = 4. So how will the automated AI replace the PM role?
Yeah, and I think that goes back to the point. It's like I've worked in the past where I've used remote-based project management, fairly low-skill people, if you like, kind of graduate entry, to run very simplistic, singular module, repeatable type projects. And they worked fine, except when it didn't work fine, in which case we then had to have another layer of people on top who were involved in escalations of support at that level. And I think the same thing is going to be true, that AI can work in certain scenarios in an autonomous way, but as soon as it hits any kind of deviation from that path of normality, humans will step in. And the whole thing about 2 + 2 in our world can often equal 3, 5, or a completely random number. That's kind of part of the human overlay on this, of understanding conditions. But AI will constantly learn, and eventually will become much closer to our ability, I think, to understand and anticipate even the strange world that we exist in. So it'll, we're talking about years here, but it will happen, I think.
Thank you. How do you think the battle of housekeeping data will affect our journey with AI?
The battle of housekeeping data. Well, it's one of the things that's interesting, because I did explore this, because that was the first thing that struck me when I started looking at how well. Even today, I work with organisations, and it's just shocking, the quality of data sometimes. You think, hang on, I personally have been in the world of data-driven systems for 30 plus years. I still come across organisations that have atrocious quality of data and replication, duplication, errors, all the rest of it. But it does depend what you're doing with the AI itself in how much data you need and the actual quality of the data to a degree. For example, we know all about the autonomous driving vehicles. Well, they need to consume huge amounts of real-time data, because that vehicle is moving on the road, and we know all the possible hazards are out there. All the conditions are constantly changing. Millions of people moving around on the planet, thousands of other cars interacting with each other. Well, you need spot-on data constantly to process and be successful there. But actually, I'm advised from a number of companies to produce some reasonable insights of prediction. You don't need as much as you might think. It's more important to have small amounts of good quality data than it is vast amounts of high quality. I mean, if you've got lots of high quality data, fantastic. But the point about it is it can deal with quite a lot. And another thing it can do is also it can help improve data by understanding if that data is not correct. I was kind of getting quite convoluted in my answer here, but the AI itself can help improve the quality of data by understanding the inaccuracies of the data it's working on, if you like. So I think in summary, you perhaps need less data than you actually think, and the AI can help improve the quality of that data over a quick short period of time.
Thank you. Should the focus be on refocus or develop rather than terminate?
Yeah, it's a bit like the lazy project manager. Terminating project management. It's put up there. It's a bold statement. It kind of gets people's attention. I think it's it's not going to terminate project management. It's not going to eliminate project managers. It's going to change what project managers do, and therefore it is an evolution. But it's a very rapid evolution. I think that's the thing. I can look back over my career and I can see significant period of times, and I can spot the kind of evolutionary steps that have taken place. Here, the evolution is happening at a pace. Well, we know what technology is like. You just have to look at mobile phones and how they've changed in a very short period of time. AI is going to do the same thing, and AI is going to evolve very rapidly. And so, you're right. It's not a termination. It's not even a revolution. It is an evolution, but it's a very rapid one, and that's why I think people need to talk about it now and get on board now.
Thank you. And we'll just go for one final question. Because technology is sexy, doesn't AI risk taking project management back to the bad old process obsessed days where people didn't figure in project management?
Oh, I wrote an article years back about, why isn't project management sexy? I think it is. I think it's very attractive. I still think what we're going to do is going to be very attractive and delivering very significant high profile benefits to business. So the fact that we may do that in partnership with AI, I don't think is going to make the slightest bit of difference. We are still the human face of that change. We are still the human interaction with the stakeholders, sponsors, steerco, all the rest of it of that change, and therefore, I think it's as sexy and as interesting as we help portray it.
Great. Thank you so much, Peter. So we'll close off there. Thank you everyone for joining us this evening, and thank you again, Peter, for giving up your time to host this event. We'd be grateful if you could complete the post-event survey and also check out our upcoming events and webinars via the APM website. The last thing to say is that we'll pop those questions that were unanswered up onto the APM website if Peter's happy to go through and answer them for you into a news article post-event. Have a lovely evening, everybody. Keep well. Stay safe. Bye-bye.
Bye.